Welcome back to Best Asian Horror Movies. I'm your host Blinky, and today we're going to be exploring Taiwanese horror film Detention. We're also going to be discussing the White Terror period, a brutal and tragic era during the country's dictatorship. At the end of the video, we're going to give the movie our own rating based on story, atmosphere, and soul-stealing terror. Before we begin, please like and subscribe.
Thank you.
2019's Detention, directed by John Hsu, is based off a popular video game of the same name, which also spawned a full-length novel and a TV series. Set during the White Terror period, the movie took inspiration from the 1947 Keelung Senior High School incident, which ultimately resulted in numerous arrests and executions. While rooted in Taiwanese history, the film's dark atmosphere and otherworldly setting has drawn numerous comparisons to the Silent Hill franchise. More on that later. Our story takes place in Taiwan during the oppressive White Terror period. High school student Wei Chung-ting joins a secret book club organized by his teacher, Miss Yin, where they delve into literature and arts that the government has banned, knowing full well that being caught could cost them their very lives. The campus is filled with propaganda posters and non-stop broadcasts demanding loyalty to the Nationalist Party and punishment for those who seek to undermine their rule. Eventually, the authorities discover their secret gatherings, and Wei, along with his peers, are arrested and tortured for information. After enduring hours of interrogation, and on the brink of death, he awakens to find himself in a dark and twisted version of the school, seemingly deserted and filled with undead specters. He soon meets Fang Rei-shin, another student who has no memory of how she arrived in this eerie place. They come to realize that they're trapped in the school, the campus suddenly surrounded by raging floodwaters. Together, they decide to search for Mr. Zhang, another teacher whom Ray claims to have seen wandering through the building. As they navigate the dark halls, they nearly encounter a terrifying spirit resembling a military officer, haunting the premises with an oversized lantern. While seeking a way out, Wei stumbles upon another book club member burning notes and copies of the banned books. He reveals to Wei that someone had betrayed them before being abruptly attacked by the towering lantern ghost. They eventually locate the book club in a bomb shelter on the school grounds, but the other members turn on Ray, accusing her of being the informant. Confused and scared, she flees as Wei tries to piece together the story. In a series of tragic flashbacks, we discover that Ray had developed a romantic relationship with Mr. Zhang, who was also involved in the secretive book club. Miss Yin confronted him about their relationship, urging him to end it to protect the club. Ray, who was on her way to meet her secret lover, overheard their conversation and mistakenly believed the two were involved with each other. Inspired by her mother's manipulation of her abusive alcoholic father, Ray concocted a plan to destroy Miss Yin. She exploited Wei's feelings for her to borrow a book from the club, then handed it over to one of the school's guards, a harsh military man named Inspector Bai. Later, Wei walks into the horrifying scene of the other book club members being strung up and executed, only to be caught by Inspector Bai himself. In a shocking turn of events, Ray appears and slits Wei's throat before shooting Miss Yin with Bai's gun. Overcome by grief, she watches as Mr. Zhang meets his own grim fate, while the other students label her as a murderer. Haunted by guilt, Ray recalls that she took her own life after the arrests, trapping herself in a hellish purgatory where she refuses to confront her past mistakes. The spirit of Mr. Zhang appears and urges her to save Wei, offering her one last chance at redemption. Ray manages to rescue Wei, but gets ensnared by the lantern ghost. Inspector Bai tempts her to repress her memories once more and deny her guilt, but this time she stands firm, defeating the unholy apparition. She and Wei make a desperate dash for the school gate as the shadows close in around them. She tells Wei to escape and fulfill his life while she stays behind, his chance at freedom being her last hope for salvation. Wei makes it out and regains consciousness back in the prison, where he confesses to his actions and accepts whatever punishment awaits him, as long as he's allowed to live. Years later, a middle-aged Wei returns to the school, which is set to be demolished. Honoring Mr. Zhang's final wish, he uncovers a hidden copy of one of the banned books. In one of the empty classrooms, he presents it to Rei's ghost. Inside, she discovers a jade deer pendant that Mr. Zhang had given her, along with a letter which promises that they'll reunite in the afterlife. The White Terror refers to a period of political repression and martial law in Taiwan that lasted from 1947 to 1987. Under the rule of the Kuomintang, or Nationalist Party, thousands of Taiwanese citizens were imprisoned, tortured, and executed on suspicion of being communists or opposing the regime. This dark era in Taiwan's history not only stunted the country's... Wait, can we call it a country? Do we have any Chinese sponsors for the video? No, we're good? Okay, cool. Yeah, stunted the country's democratic development for decades, but also left deep scars. The roots of the White Terror can be traced back to the end of World War II, when Taiwan was handed over from Japanese control to the Republic of China under the Nationalist Party. The initial jubilation quickly soured as the KMT, led by Chiang Kai-shek, implemented corrupt and oppressive governance. Tensions culminated in the February 28 incident of 1947, a brutal crackdown following an anti-government uprising which resulted in the deaths of thousands of civilians. This event marked the beginning of the White Terror. In 1949, after losing the Chinese Civil War to the CCP, the KMT retreated to Taiwan and imposed martial law, which would remain in place for nearly 40 years. The KMT justified this move as necessary to protect the island from communist infiltration. However, martial law allowed the government to criminalize dissent, ban political parties and publications, and arrest individuals without due process. Nearly 150,000 people were imprisoned or interrogated during the time, and between 3,000 and 4,000 were executed. Despite the repression, seeds of resistance gradually began to grow. By the 1970s and 1980s, a pro-democracy movement had begun to take shape, fueled by activists, lawyers, and writers advocating for human rights and democratic reforms. The lifting of martial law in 1987 by President Tseng Jing-hua marked a turning point. Taiwan began a slow but steady transition to democracy, culminating in its first direct presidential elections in 1996. Here at Best Asian Horror Movies, we're going to be rating our films based on 3 criteria: story, atmosphere, and terror, with each category eligible for a maximum of 6 bloody skulls. The historical context and setting are what really stood out to me the most. Nowadays, when you think of Taiwan, the images that usually come to mind are semiconductors, bubble tea, pride parades, and of course the constant threats of invasion from China. But if you wind the clocks back to not so long ago, Taiwan was also a brutal dictatorship for decades. As horrible as the CCP was, and in many ways still is, the Nationalist Party in Taiwan wasn't much better. Now, I would have liked to see the characters get fleshed out a bit more. I think we got an interesting look into Rei's past and her motivations, and having this cute, innocent model student revealed as the one who inadvertently destroyed the book club was very cool. But I would have liked to see a little bit more from the other characters, so I'm going to go with 4 bloody skulls here. I've seen lots of comparisons to the Silent Hill games and movies. I think this definitely holds true. The dark tone, muted colors were very reminiscent of the Silent Hill series. While the setup, characters, and time period are totally different, we are transported into an otherworldly hellscape that mirrors the real world, but is inhabited by unholy spirits and monsters. So yeah, very similar to Silent Hill in this way. I thought the nationalist propaganda and music also really helped the viewer get a taste of what it was like during the White Terror period. Coffee Yao, the creator of the game, grew up in 1980s Taiwan during the latter years of the White Terror, and he had stated that he wanted to use a video game as a medium to show the world what it was like growing up in Taiwan during this time. And he did cite Silent Hill as an inspiration for the game's design and tone. I'll go with 5 bloody skulls here. It's not without its creepy moments, though I felt it was a bit too reliant on jump scares and CGI monsters. The lantern ghosts were very cool and unique, but again, CGI monsters just don't do it for me anymore. The haunting flashbacks or hallucinations where we see the book club being tortured and executed was very, very creepy and unsettling, especially with the heavy blood red filter being imposed on the shots. I'll go with 4 bloody skulls. Alright, that's it for today. Thanks so much for watching. Let me know what movie I should review next, and let me know your thoughts on Detention. Okay, see ya. Bye-bye.